Like, was Leah Thomas changing in the locker rooms with you guys on an all-girls team?
Yes. And so originally so after this first meeting, right, there was a lot of people. So everyone was clapping in the room publicly, but privately, a bunch of girls, we'd have one-on-one meetings with each other. We would talk to our coaches, all of that, and talk about how uncomfortable we were with it. And so originally we were actually told that Thomas was going to be changing in the single stall family locker room outside our locker room. That is originally what we were told was going to happen. But 2 years later, when it eventually became a reality, I remember I was looking at the locker chart. We had a new assistant coach, and he like reassigned everyone's lockers. And I looked down and I saw that Thomas had a locker like everyone else. And at this point, I said, okay, so he's going to be in our locker room, and there's nothing we can do about it. And I actually had a teammate. So I was super fortunate. Our locker room is sort of shaped like an L, and I was at one end and he was at the other. So I was as far away from him as I could have been. But one of my close friends actually wasn't. And she had the locker right next to him.
Oh,
And she
no.
went to her coach. No, yeah. And she went to her coach and said, this is a joke, right? There's no way you expect me to undress next to this man. And our coach was
And,
just like, I'm sorry, my hands are tied.
and you guys undress out in the open, right? Like, it's not like you hop in a stall.
Yes.
Yeah, and you guys, I
Yes,
mean,
and also we swimming is one of the sports where you are very exposed changing in and out of your suit. Like it's not like other sports where you're not like soaking wet, right?
yeah.
But we were changing 18 times a week in the locker room. We have 9 practices a week. You have to change into your suit before practice and change out. That's 18 times you're changing, and that's every week. That's not that like, every single week for the entire year. And so one of that same teammate, my friend who had the locker next to him, she changed out in that family locker room we were originally told he was supposed to change in. And
Oh,
she did
wow.
it every single practice, and everyone knew what she was doing. She would grab her stuff, walk out to the hallway, tiptoe back in. Everyone knew what she was doing. It was just one of those situations where, again, and if people who tried to raise concerns about it, we were called names. We were told we were transphobic. We were told we were homophobic. It was every single aspect of it was just, if you brought up any concerns, you were immediately shut down. You were immediately called names. It was crazy.
And I mean, like, swimming athletes, you guys are wearing bathing suits just like everyone else. There's nothing under them, right? Like, it's not like you've
Yeah.
got like a sports bra and underwear under them. Like, you get fully undressed in front of this man in your locker room, and he does the same in front of you guys, right?
Yes, and I think the other thing is like racing suits. So practice suits are pretty easy to get in and out of, but racing suits, I'm not even exaggerating when I say this, they take 20 minutes to change into
Really?
because
Wow.
they're this small, and I'm not even like they are this tiny. Like I remember when I first ordered my first racing suit, my mom told me that she thought it could fit an American Girl doll closer than it could to fitting me. Um, and that's just like I hopefully you've seen those dolls, you know how big they are, but. That is a lot of time you're exposed. And I know like even growing up swimming, it's people are helping you, your friends are like digging their hands in your suit, you're accidentally flashing people because they're so hard to get the straps on. I mean, it's not a place where you're modest whatsoever. And I played other sports growing up. You're very exposed swimming. Like the swimming locker room is probably one of the most exposing places you could be. And so I think that's what makes it so crazy is like this was a sports team where everyone is so open and changing and exposed and all this stuff, and they're just like and you should do it with someone on the men's team now. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was just, I mean, I would never want anyone else to experience that. And honestly, even like during it, I suppressed a lot of my emotions and like really how disturbing it actually was.
Yeah. And so here's a question that I didn't actually have written down. Did you have any kind of indication of like what Leah Thomas's sexuality was? Was this person attracted to men or attracted to women? Like, because that's a whole nother sort of risk factor there. Is like if he likes women and
Yeah,
what
he
do you have?
previously dated a member of the women's team.
Oh, that is
Yeah.
really bad. Okay, and that didn't change to your
Um,
knowledge when he joined the women's team,
They had broken up by the time he officially joined the
right?
team, and she had also I don't really want to like call him
No,
out,
no,
but
sure,
she had
yeah,
also
totally.
graduated already. So
Interesting.
yeah, it just yes, it was confirmed that he liked women because he was dating a woman. And I think that again, that's what made it so uncomfortable for a lot of people. is that, this person has clearly had a history of dating women before. And again, that's why they also called it like homophobic, right? Like if we object to changing with him and he's attracted to women, he's actually a
Oh,
lesbian,
yeah,
so we're
wow.
homophobic. And to the people who bring up that argument all the time, if you don't understand the difference between undressing with another woman that happens to like women versus a man, I there's a clearly a difference. And a lot of people on the other side kind of like to make that argument, and it's like there's a very distinct difference between a man being naked around you versus a woman, regardless of sexuality, right? So
And at this time, when Leah Thomas is now on your team and changing in your locker room, getting totally naked in your locker room, watching you guys get totally naked, drop my pen. What did Leah Thomas look like? Like, I mean, from photos I've seen, it seems like basically looked like a dude with long hair. I mean, did he seem feminine in any way? What did he just seem like a dude with long hair? What's the breakdown on that?
yeah, I mean, you've seen the pictures. That is exactly that. I mean, even when he announced the transition to us, he was still, so after that meeting we originally had, he was still changing the men's locker room. So he was like, I'm she, her, but in the year of transitioning, when he was still competing for the men, he was still changing in the men's locker room, still dressing very masculine. I mean, later on, I mean, at graduation, I think he was wearing like a dress and heels. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think if you didn't know anything and you saw him walking around campus, you would probably just think that that was a member of the men's team.
Wow.
And so, and again, like that's the other thing is it's just so interesting. It's again, like you can just grow your hair out, and that is now the standard for saying, and you're welcome in all women's spaces and teams and all these opportunities. And that is basically what we were told. Like, this is how we identify, deal with it.
Wow.